Hey, welcome to this video tutorial. This one is showing how to structure your answer in order to maximise your marks. I'm going to use a student answer as an example, and this video tutorial aims to show you the value of practicing the longer essay types questions, allow you to gain more confidence, which you then can submit to your tutors and receive more formal feedback to see your progress. So we're going to focus on how to structure your answer to score well on an outline and explain 10 marker. So what are they? Just to remind you, it is a 10 mark question. It's 15 minutes to answer, 7.5 minutes per paragraph. Aim to have 2 balanced paragraphs. It asks for reasons, ways, effects, problems, strengths, weaknesses, etc. of a particular idea, view, theory or method. And also look for the question hooks, as this question requires you to make a link between the two. It only appears on the theory and methods, which is on paper 1 and 3, and topics, which is on paper 2. As you can see, I'm focusing on the top band of the mark scheme, so you can understand what you need to do to score highly. So for example, answers in this top band will have very good knowledge and understanding of 2 things. There'll be 2 applications of relevant material, and there'll be appropriate analysis, for example, the significance of it. So the best way to explain good structure in a 10 mark outline and explain is to explore what the question is actually asking you to do and understand where the marks come from. So here is a range of different 10 mark questions from a range of different topics from the 2017 papers, Family Beliefs and Theory and Methods, and what you actually need to do. So as with the longer answers, preparation before you start answering is the key to ensuring that you understand what the question is actually asking you to do. As with the 20 marker, read the question once, then read it again a second time, but this time underline the trigger words or hooks that are placed within the question. Using 1 to 2 minutes out of the 15 minutes to give you a brief plan of ideas, and that will mean 2 things. Firstly, you fully understand the separate parts of the question that you must write about, and secondly, as there are multiple ways of answering it, it means that you can then choose the 2 that you can write most about and show application between the 2 parts. So I underline. Underlining and highlighting focuses your attention to what the question is actually asking you to do. I make my students refer to them as Part A and Part B. So in this one, here's Part A, and this one is here's Part B. And these are the 2 parts of the question from 2 separate aspects of the specification that the examiner expects you to show application of knowledge. And the aim here is to challenge you to apply the knowledge and show wider understanding rather than just learning chunks of AO1. So let's have a look at some of the questions and identify the 2 parts of the question. So from the family question, this question asks you to identify changes in gender roles. So this could be a change from segregated conjugal roles to more joint conjugal roles, with a change in the position of women. And then in turn link it and apply as a consequence to the impact of the children's experiences of childhood. So this could be better, being more affluent with joint conjugal roles, or it could become worse because of electronic babysitters or becoming more toxic. Second one, from the beliefs. This is where you've got to show knowledge of a sect, being world rejecting, extreme views, charismatic leader, and why do they attract people from particular social groups such as women or from the poor. This one's a little bit more sneaky because it had a hidden component, but basically you had to state an advantage of choosing overt participant observation. For example, it avoids deception, you gain consent, and compare it to say why is that better in some cases than covert participant observation because of the deception that's involved. And then you could have commented on the ethical dilemma compared to the source of data, with it being lowered in validity as people know that they're being watched. And then lastly, we've got the outline and explain 2 practical disadvantages, time, cost of access, and applying it to examples of documents such as letters used in Thomas and Zanecki's study and Frank's diary, paintings like Urie's that he studied in his study of childhood. But overall, the key here is that you had to show the link between the 2. It's not enough just to write about Part A and then write about Part B with no link between the 2. So you had to show what is it about, for example, historical paintings that might make them time consuming to get access. For example, they might be in a private collection. So therefore you're stating the practical disadvantage applied to the specific example of a document. So how do you go about structuring an answer for that? So once again, I draw upon a student example and we identify the two parts of the question, show application and any AO3 analysis. So we're focusing on the outline and explain two reasons why sects tend to recruit members from a particular social group. So as you can see, this student has wrote quite a chunky paragraph which should take about 7 to 8 minutes to write. So we'll firstly identify the different parts. So the first part of the paragraph, this student talks about the sects, and that is part A from the question. So what we'll do is we'll colour that into blue. And then they discuss part B, which is the social group, and we've coloured that in green. But then what the student then starts to do is to make the link between the two, and using their knowledge of both. And this student starts to discuss features of the sect and features of the social group, in this case the poor, to suggest why that particular social group is attracted to the sects. So we colour that in yellow. So already this student has shown good knowledge about sects and social groups, but she is cementing the application and restating why that social group, the poor, are attracted to sects by showing something that they both have in common, is that they have this common rejection of society and its mainstream values. And this student ends by adding a final piece of analysis as she digs a little bit further and she discusses why sects fail to attract people from the whole of society. So this student scored an overall 9 out of 10 on this question. The examiner comment stated, very good knowledge and understanding, especially of the first reason, which was the reason that was just outlined, with appropriate analysis. So what can you do? So to ensure that you don't miss any part of the question out, when you're practicing, using a template to answer questions often helps. And this is for a number of reasons. Firstly, it will ensure that you show knowledge of both parts of the question, giving examples of studies, applying the keywords or knowledge, so it adds detail to avoid the answer being quite brief. Secondly, it shows a linking sentence which ties both of the paragraphs together with a short explanation. And lastly, the further comment to give the analysis is given. So you could use this template that I use with my students, just copy it out and practice some of the other questions that are on this video tutorial. And this will allow you to organise your thoughts and prompt you to show the link between the two and offer the analysis. So you write the question at the top, you write as much knowledge as you know about part A and much knowledge as you know about part B, and then this is the bit that's going to get you the marks. How do they relate to one another? Make sure that you refer to part A and part B in this box, and then any analysis goes in the bottom box. So you can use this video tutorial, outline and explain 2 ways in which gender roles within the family might have affected children's experiences of childhood, and the outline 2 practical disadvantages of using documents by using the links below, and then you can check your answers. So overall, when answering a 10-mark outline and explain, firstly, remember to show AO1 knowledge of both parts of the question. Then show how part A links or affects part B, and then offer some further explanations, analytical points to the end. So thank you again for watching as always. If you have found it useful, please click like. Any questions or comments, please pop them below, and check out some of the other videos such as how to structure for a 20-mark question, and also mentioned in this tutorial was how to answer the 2 10-markers, the practical disadvantages of documents and change it in gender roles impacting on childhood. Have a great day and thank you for listening.